All right, well, welcome everybody to our very exciting lunchbox session today with the magnificent Joy Matthews, who's going to show us her kidneys. Are you going to show us your kidneys, Joy, or I've been promoting?
I totally can show you my kidneys.
Excellent. And some other things as well, but we're going to be experiencing the magic of virtual backgrounds, and it's a kind of experience that you get to immerse yourself into another reality without even having to wear those goggles. So I think that's win-win. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which all of us are meeting today, traditional custodians, and pay my respects to the First Nations people and their elders past, present and future, and also to any First Nations people who are joining us here today, because there might be some more people popping in and some people might be watching on video as well. So welcome to you. And I'm now going to introduce Joy, and I have got, you probably have seen the bio that I sent out, but I'll read it because it's pretty good. Joy's a registered nurse, she's a registered midwife, a rural and isolated practice endorsed nurse, currently teaching the Diploma of Nursing in Bundaberg. She's also, and this is the important bit, she's also a hula hooping Spanish speaking dog mama with a special interest in the connections we make when entering the Australian higher education system. That sounds like a thesis topic for me. But anyway, so I'm going to hand over to Joy, and Justin and Zoe are going to monitor the chat. So as per usual, if you have questions, put them in the chat and we'll stop at various points. Joy will show you her thing and give you some of her hints and tips. And then any questions we can, you know, because you want to know, how can I do this at home without breaking the internet? That's what you really wanted to know, isn't it? So that's what we're going to find out and get some inspiration. So over to you, Joy.
Thank you very much. So Teresa asked me to do this and said that I should do like in a reflection kind of thing, I think was the idea that I got. So I decided to be true to form in nursing. We use Gibbs most of the time. So I'm going to go through why I did what I did and how I got to what I was doing. And I also have some, at the end, I'll go through how to actually use how to find a green screen for $2 and make magic happen. So it came about as we moved into COVID restrictions and we had to move everything very quickly online. And it was very tempting to grab a PowerPoint and push that out there through Zoom. But for most of us in vet, we're much more accustomed to arm waving, hula hooping, storytelling, and using a much more dynamic approach to our classroom environment. And what I felt was that the noticing and nurturing part of what we do as teachers is completely lost when you go to a PowerPoint. When you share a PowerPoint, all your students can see is that PowerPoint and you're a tiny little smidge in the corner. It takes you out of the classroom. And I couldn't really see the point of doing that when the point of the Zoom replacing our face-to-face was that we were creating a synchronous learning environment. So for me, it was a really unsettling time because face-to-face is, I felt, for me, is so important. It's where we get that free flow, we get to know our students, we see and we acknowledge their uniqueness. And there we go, their uniqueness. And we create those relationships that bridge the gap between their academic work, their real life and their professional practice, the stuff that they're actually trying to attain. And I want the students to see, I'm modeling that I see them and I see their uniqueness because I want them as nurses to see the uniqueness, to have attention to detail and to notice the things in their clients. So for me, it's a really important part of what we're doing as nurse educators, and I'm sure that it applies in the majority of vet teaching, because we are teaching to industry, and we're talking about, we're doing a lot of our stuff is in skills and industry base. And I was really quite sad about the whole hiding behind the PowerPoint thing. My normal PowerPoints, when I do use them, are like this. They've got a couple of words on and lots of images, a bit like Teresa's cats and her memes. I feel that that's much more powerful than, you know, 25 dot points on a slide. So whilst hiding behind the PowerPoint is a very comfortable place to be compared to being on screen, what a lot of the teachers have said is, oh, I see myself, I see my wrinkles, I see my grey hair, I see my double chins. And I think, you know, I'm authentically aged. This is who I am. And I'm old enough to know that getting old is a privilege a lot of people don't have. They don't get to experience. So just get over that and get on with it. In terms of the evaluation of how things went, I have this one. Students were coming to meetings and turning their cameras off. And when you call on them, they weren't actually there. They were dropping out and they were disengaging at a huge rate of knots. And it was so disappointing, the amount of energy and effort that was going into being there in these Zooms, in this supposed synchronous environment, to find that it wasn't engaging the students. And so this is where I started to look at virtual screens and start to try to use them. At the end of the day, if all they're getting is the equivalent of a narrated PowerPoint, we can do that on Moodle. We can narrate them a PowerPoint. They can watch it at a time far more convenient to them. What is the point of them coming to a class in your time, at your convenience, when what you're giving them is something that they can access through Moodle? So you really, you know, I really couldn't blame them for ditching us, as it were. So what I have found, and this is my last one here, is that on the video or on the Zooms, that you actually need to really bring a lot more energy and animation to it. And that's what the energy there is about. So in conclusion of my reflection, what I was thinking was that there had to be a different way. And I had learned how to use 3D, Paint 3D earlier in the year. So one of my colleagues had taught me how to use Paint 3D so that I could use H5P more effectively in Moodle. And I just thought there is a way to use Zoom backgrounds. And I can translate my PowerPoints into backgrounds so that I'm actually in the screen, I'm actually in the room with my students. And that's why I started experimenting with it. So the green screen, I can just quickly show you now. My green screen is actually, give me a second, there. It costs $2. It's a green plastic sheet and it's blue tacked to the wall behind me. And when I'm in the office, I actually stick it to the magnetic board on one side with the magnetic board rubber, and on the other it's pinned up with an IV pole. This is one of my favorite. Oh, let me sit there. Iron Throne. So I can broadcast from Star Trek Enterprise or from the Iron Throne whenever I feel like it. I can be in the renal system with the students. So one of my colleagues asked me to do a 10-minute video on the renal system. So I did the same thing. I had a series of 5 slides and we went through the renal system and if I can point my hand in the right direction, blood coming in, whoops, blood coming in, blood coming out, and oops, wrong way, and urine being produced there. You have to get a little bit used to the back to front flow of it. So there's my kidney, and here's my other, you know, again, I can just sit back here and show this. I don't need to just hide behind the PowerPoint. The advantage to using this, I found, for me, was that if I share a PowerPoint, all I can see is maybe 2 or 3 of the students in a little screen down the side. I can't monitor the chat. It disappears on me and I can't find it. So you're not again, you're not having that synchronous experience. Whereas by doing this, I can still see everybody that's in the room, and I can see the chat. I can see if you're falling asleep. I can see if you look puzzled. I can see if you've just had to get up and go and attend to a child and wait for you to come back if necessary. So I think for me, it's just been a really, really useful way of engaging with the students. I think I've written this now as anecdotally, and I say anecdotally because I have not had the time to go out and find the real evidence and the research evidence, but anecdotally, students prefer to see you. They come to your class to see you and to interact with you. And if you're going to do a video, keep it short, because we've all got quite short attention spans in reality. And one of the things that I found with this, like recording this one for the Riedel video, was that if you're the host and you hit record, you can't change your background. You have to stop recording to change your background. And I thought, oh, that's a bit messy. But when I'd done it, as it turned out, I was doing a demonstration and I spilt peas all over my desk. I was trying to sift peas to demonstrate how the kidney works. Spilt peas and water all over my desk. But because I was recording in chunks, because I hit record, stop, record, stop, record, stop, when it came to the end and Zoom renders those videos for you, it then sends you a series of short videos. I could take out the one that had failed, and all I had to do was re-record that 2-minute section and then slot it back in the right order in Camtasia. So I recommend that if you want, first of all, if you want to change your background in a synchronous meeting, you can't be the host or the recording person. So give the host to somebody else so that you can keep changing your backgrounds. And if you're recording because you're doing an equivalent of an narration PowerPoint for students to watch later, do use the record stop to change your backgrounds, because that helps you easily put it together. So my top tips were, this is my, what have I learned? This is my reflection. What have I learned? Your presence is probably the most valuable tool for engagement of your students. You need to teach your students how to use Speaker View and Gallery View in Zoom, because they'll have a better experience of your whole thing if they put Speaker View on so that you fill their screen rather than just being a dot. So if I ask them to do that, for example, I can, let me just, I can change, when I change the background, I can show different things like that, which if I was just in a small gallery view, they wouldn't be able to read that. But in full screen view, they'll be able to read that. And this is another one that I've done. So using different things, I can have them up there in the background. I'll go back to that one. Let them know that you can see them, and if they're in the PJs, this might not be ideal. But I do encourage them still to put the video on. So I've been to other people's talks and they've said, we don't want to see your children and we don't want to see your pets. And I'm thinking, really? Really? These parents, these students, a lot of our students are parents, they're homeschooling or they have been homeschooling, you know, so be real. And I'd rather that, I've got to know quite a few of the children over the past few weeks, and if the pet's put in an appearance, so be it. It's all part of what's going on in that authentic synchronous classroom. In terms of content, just keep it to the must-know concepts, because you can't teach every single fact that you think that they should know in this environment. It's just not possible. So that's, you know, keeping it to must-know concepts. I've also learned that it takes about an hour to prep for 10 minutes of recording. It's exhausting. So perhaps it'll get quicker as I get better at it. Oh yeah, and my other one was that you can't change slides while you're recording, which I've already told you. So that's about it really. I think it's heaps of fun. I think you can also, there's another function where you can, well, it's within this, in your virtual background, you can use video. So this was a shot from the labs with one of my students. I took it into Camtasia, edited it to 3 minutes, uploaded it here, and it just runs on a loop. Zoom just runs it on a loop. Just for demonstration purposes, I made this one, which is just a series of my own photographs, made them into a slideshow. And again, Zoom will just run them through on a loop in the background. So the only thing I think with the moving backgrounds is that they can be quite distracting, but there's no reason. So for example, paramedic could have an accident crash scene going on if they wanted to. I put together, to talk through an accident scene, I put together a couple of slides like this and this, so that we could move it from one place to another. This is one of my workplace health and safety type chat backgrounds. And this one, they're all, and this one. And then this one is one from a short 10-minute on using PACE as a graded assertiveness tool. Again, this is a PowerPoint that I use in class, and I think it's 5 slides. Yeah, it's a 4-letter word. There's 5 slides in that PowerPoint. I've used images like this in the background, and actually one of my colleagues, I helped to put together a 15-minute conference presentation, which was done online. And while everybody else presented with the PowerPoint, so you couldn't see the speaker, she presented her paper like this in this format, so that again, I just think it brings so much more to the interaction when we're talking about that synchronous environment. So I've got heaps of other photos on there that are just fun. This is some of my students. So this is what our classrooms are normally like. And it's been quite difficult moving to Zoom and losing that lovely interactivity that really keeps you going as a teacher. Ready for questions. Bring it on.
Thanks, Joy. So I'm going to now.
Oh, you've muted yourself.
Yes, I did that on purpose. So now, does anybody have any questions of Joy? Carmen.
I just wondered actually how it physically works. How do you physically get your image onto your green screen?
Yeah, so when you look at your Zoom screen now, on the bottom bar, you've got stop video, you've got your video button, and there should be a little up button at the side of that. If you press that up button, if you've not already enabled virtual backgrounds, you'll have to go into that and enable it. And when I first did that, my computer said, "Your computer may not be able to handle this." And I went, "Oh, yes, you can." And I hit enable. Oh, there you go. Somebody's giving it a go. So tell it that it can do it. Justin, do you want to take over?
No, I was just going to offer to share a screen because I took a screen capture of that part of the screen before.
Yeah, sure.
Just to, if I can find it at all.
And I think you need to have the updated Zoom app, don't you, Justin?
Yeah, so it's just down here where it says stop video, and then it's got a choose virtual background there. And then when you click on that, then you get this screen, and then you can pick on your virtual background there, or click the plus button to add another one. And then Joy, because of her great green screen, she's got this I have a green screen option, which gives you a much clearer and better quality experience for the video, for the overlay or the virtual background.
So just on that note, so how do we get I see that they've got options, like you've said, with what you want to have in the virtual background behind you. how do you put your slideshow or your images or whatever into those options? Is it just that plus symbol?
That plus symbol, yeah. I can't do it because this is just a screenshot, but you click on that and then they load in. So Joy would have had, would I be right, Joy, saying you've got your images all loaded in there?
Yeah, yeah.
And you just click on them.
Yeah, so once you click that plus button, we click that plus button and you can add image or add video.
Yeah, I can't add it. The video shows with the little video icon there. Yeah. They're ones that are videos. And I should have taken a picture of the green screen to show how bad it was on my end. So I'll just stop sharing. But I know if I turn mine on, it's certainly not the same sort of quality that Joy's is.
So I've just created, and you have to see it's back the front. See, my writing is back the front.
Oh, it's looking good from here.
You can
not
see
to us,
that?
it's not. Yeah, not to us, it's the right way around. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So when I look at myself, it's all back the front, but obviously you can see it just fine. But I've just saved my PowerPoint slides as JPEGs and then just gone through that plus and then uploaded them. Yeah. But for some of your images, I know I had this one on just before. I just went on to Pexels and uploaded and downloaded, the high def images. There's millions of them there and they're all royalty free. And I could just pick a blank background so it wasn't so distracting. Some of them can be quite bright and in your face a little bit, but yeah.
We had students coming along with their own virtual background, and one day this student came along and she got a pool behind her and she came with flippers and a snorkel and a swimming cap. The next day she got the Alps behind her and she got a woolly hat and a puffer jacket on. The students have had some fun with it too. It has been really entertaining, and I think in terms of building that relationship and those the student to teacher and the peer-to-peer relationship, it's actually been really valuable exercise in experimenting. It's authentic because we're making it up as we go along, and we can quite happily say, I'm making this up. Oh, Carmen's on the throne. Iron Throne. Yeah, it's real as well.
And you're so right, Joy, that engagement for students, that's critical at this time where, like you said, because of COVID, there's this big barrier that's been put in place, and you're breaking down that barrier and getting those traditional classroom skills that you use in a face-to-face classroom and use it in this online environment. Joy, this is a technical question. The distance from you to the green screen, because obviously that's going to have some bearing. How far back would yours be?
About 12 inches behind me. I can touch in it there. Yeah, the closer
so
it is, the better. Yeah, I mean, this is a big piece of green. This is a big green sheet. Like I said, $2 from the dollar shop. It's 2 meters by 1.5 meters. It's huge. But the closer it is behind you, the better it seems to work.
That green screen that you mentioned from the $2 shop, was it a tarp or was it an actual sheet?
No, it's a plastic tablecloth.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what $2 shop was it?
Oh, it's like what used to be Flash Harry's.
Is that in Rockhampton?
No, Queensland. Just they're all around Queensland. What are they called now? Something like Bargain Central, something like that. Okay. And it's a $2 plastic tablecloth for parties.
Okay.
Yeah.
Easy.
Have a look at that really big shot down the mall, Carmen, in Rockhampton, down East Street.
Oh yeah, there's one of those cheap shops there.
Yeah.
There's a few around the place. Yeah. Yep.
So to get your images to fit, so like I've had a couple of I'd say fails, but like sometimes you put an image up behind you, you've got it, you've brought it, you've imported it in, and you get it there and it doesn't quite fit. So I got this one, and if I move to one side, it's okay. Move him there, yeah, move him around. But if you actually need to edit it and just hop it into 3D, Paint 3D, can you demonstrate how to do that? Or if you're familiar with Paint, it's not hard. If you've got a PowerPoint that you want to use behind you, what I've been doing is screenshot, snippet, use a snippet, and that creates, and then save it as a JPEG. Then in the JPEG, open it in Paint 3D, click on canvas and resize your canvas. So you bring your canvas out, not your shot out, so that it ends up, if I sit here, my shot's here at the side of me. So also I'm positioning myself. So like if I'm sitting in the center, it's because I'm sitting on the Iron Throne usually, and we're just having a 5-minute chat. But if I've actually got material that I want to show, then I make sure I'm positioned off to one side, and I've edited my image to sit to one side of me. It's really simple to do.
So giving yourself more space on the right-hand side of the image for
yeah,
you to overlay.
I mean, you can either side, whichever you're comfortable with. It doesn't matter, yeah. But you can do that in Paint 3D. It literally, I can grab an image off Google, which of course would be copyright free. But I can find an image from somewhere and bring it across and edit it in Paint 3D and have it on my background in literally less than 5 minutes. So this part of it doesn't take long at all.
I haven't got a question, but I thought we should go through. So if you can't get a green screen, if you can't get green, is it okay to have another colour? So Zoe and Justin might be able to answer this.
A flat colour is the main sort of thing you want. So less differentiation and higher contrast between you and the backdrop. But green screen is the sort of industry. It's the best colour to use because it's able to be matted out to the higher quality and has less interference with your colours, and that's actually something we discussed earlier. We talked about avoiding stripes and things like that as well, and colours that are, like, you're not going to wear something green during the presentation because it's going to show gaps in your shirt or your top or something like that. So making sure that you've got contrasting colours to the backdrop.
So that if I just look at where Mark is sitting now, that curtain that you've got behind you, Mark, would probably work.
Yeah, I've noticed that actually. I put a screen. I'll do it again. Put it on the background. I'm not sure I've got. Oh,
sorry.
That's okay. But I've still got that sort of vague, ring around me. The part around me that sort of looks like I'm sitting on something. So I'll even look at my hands. They're all it's very very interesting. But getting the back.
Joy's backdrop would help get rid of that because of the clean nature.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, no, it's great. A lot of the questions I had are being answered, in terms of positioning, and then obviously you just put them into your virtual backdrop, place in a sequence to say I'm going to run it in sort of this order, this talk to this point, talk to that point, and then as you've already demonstrated, if there's any models or something that I really need you to pay attention to, that can sit there. And if what was that part about them being close enough for them to see it? Oh, is that when they had you on speaker view, they're able to
if you ask your students, and just before you start, educate them where speaker view is so that they know where that button is and they can change to speaker view, because that makes you their full screen rather than gallery view.
So then, and again, I think I know the answer. If I'm now on full view, if you've got speaker view on, I'm speaking, so I'm now taking up the full view. Yeah.
So actually, one of my other things is, and when we first started going to Zoom, we had people, kind of bosses, we should record them. But actually, my personal preference is not to record them, is to, if the record button is on, that students may feel inhibited in turning their cameras on, and also may feel inhibited in speaking up. So actually I would prefer, and my preference is to not record, and I'll say to the students, I'm not recording this. We're going to free flow through this session. And at the end, if I feel that I need to put something on that's recorded, like a summary of the key points, I can literally record that on my own when the students have gone, and upload that to Moodle, and I can record a summary of whatever the session was about in 5 minutes, and then upload that directly into whatever format I'm using. I think record is something to consider in terms of privacy and participation, that students may be reluctant.
Just on that recording note, if you do want to record, I remember you saying that the speaker can't press the record button because it stops the slideshow from working. Can any of this, so how would you record it in that situation? Who else could do it? Could the student
So
do it?
you can make another student co-host. You can make a student co-host, and if you've not got a co-host, because most of our classes, because we're normally on so many campuses and there's so many of us, when it's all come to Zoom and you've got all your students in one Zoom room, there's another teacher there who can be co-host for you, who can handle your chat and do your recording for you. But there's no reason why you can't make a student a co-host and then ask them to hit record, I guess.
And how do you then get the recording? Would the recording still come to you, to your email address?
I don't know. That sounds like a
I
Justin
don't believe
question.
so.
No, it goes to the person who clicked record. So if you've got a colleague, it'd be ideal, because then it'll go to somewhere within CQU, and then they can just share the link with you, or you can share the file. But yeah, whoever clicks the recording has access to it at the end.
I was just thinking on that note that you could screen record off Snagit. I know
Snagit,
it gives, I know it gives you the option to take a screenshot, but it also gives you the option to record your screen as well. So that's another program that we use, kind of like the snipping tool, but it just allows you to record your screen as well. So you could record your Zoom screen over the top. I'll just see if I can do that now while we're doing this.
And does it take audio as well?
I don't know. Yeah, it does actually, because I've used it once before to do a bit of a demonstration on H5P for a academic. It's just rendering. It's taking a little bit at the moment. But you're right, you keep going, Joy, and I'll try and do unable to initiate the webcam. Make sure the webcam is connected. Hang on a second.
Maybe because you're using it for Zoom. It's,
Oh, hang on. It's doing a countdown. It's starting to record. Yeah. So my toolbar is working. It's doing a recording now. And it's just going to finish.
And this Snagit is available through the Software Centre?
Yep. Just go into your search engine and type in Snagit, and I'll just see if I can share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see all of us on your screen.
Okay, hang on. What about that now? Can you see that?
Yeah.
That's Snagit.
Yes, yes.
So this is my recording, and you can see it's just recorded a quick 10 seconds on there. Yeah. I didn't hear any audio though. So perhaps I needed to. This is my little toolbar here. When I go record microphone, see my microphone was turned off there. I just needed to turn it on, and that would have picked up my recording. So that's Snagit down the bottom down there.
Okay, and what would you use that one for, Zoe? What kind of, so it just records short videos?
Look, I'm not too sure on how long it would record for. Justin, would you know that?
Sorry, no, I wouldn't. No, I don't use the video part of Snagit.
Yeah, okay. I've just done it for small snippets in the past, just as short how-to videos. I haven't recorded for anything more than, say, 15, 20 minutes. And then you can edit in there as well, but you can also go through Camtasia and do your editing. And I guess you could do audio over your Camtasia, as you would know how to do that. I hope.
I've just looked it up, and it says it is recommended to keep recordings to 1 hour or less for a single recording.
Perfect.
Okay.
I mean, it's not like you're going to do a 4-hour Zoom recording, I hope.
Yeah.
I hope not. I think you might lose your students. So now so that's one piece of technology that we've sort of touched on today. Joy also talked about the H5P and the Paint 3D and Camtasia. Now, we talk about those things as if everyone knows what they are and how to use them, but that might not be the case. So anybody experienced in using any of those, or no?
I've done a bit of Camtasia, but I'm not experienced in Paint 3D. I'd be interested to know about that one.
Okay.
I just used it really quickly. It was very easy for me to create a image and just put it to one side. Hang on a sec, I'll just call it up for you what I did.
Yeah, so you're still sharing, Zoe, so you'll be...
Oh, am I? Okay,
yeah.
excellent. That's great. Did you all just see what I did there?
Yes, yes, just a little disclaimer.
Yeah, that's okay. I don't have anything squiff going on there. But how do I stop sharing? I don't know if it doesn't, oh, it's over here. Damn it. I hate having all of these, but there you go. You can see my picture there, so I can do my weatherman. If I had a proper green screen, you'd see my hand a bit better, but that image is normally full screen, and I went into that Paint 3D like you said, Joy, and I just altered my canvas so that you could see the image more, as opposed to me being in the road and taking up half of the image with my buff head. So yeah, that was pretty easy to do actually. Do you want me to do a quick demo on how I did that?
That's
Yeah, that's a yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
And is
let me
Paint
go.
3D available, or what, people have got to download that?
Yeah, well, I just, like I did with the Snagit, I just went into my little, let me see if I can.
I think if you just pull up any picture, if you pull up any JPEG that you already have on there, when it opens, it's an option on the top right.
And
where it says edit, and then you choose Paint 3D. There's Paint and there's Paint something else, but the bottom option is usually Paint 3D. Choose that one.
Paint 3D.
That allows you to resize easily.
Hang on a sec. I'll just put it on this screen here. And there's my picture. So I just went up the top here to menu and browse. And I just picked up any picture. There's my man over there, but I could do this building here, I guess. And then I went to Magic Select. Was it that? No, it wasn't Magic Select.
Canvas.
Hang on, I've got my toolbar in the road. There we go.
That's like canvas.
And then just stretched my canvas out.
So on the right where it says lock aspect ratio and resize image, make sure they're not ticked. Otherwise you pull the whole picture. So make sure they're unticked.
Yes.
Now you can resize the canvas that it's on to make it fit the screen behind you.
And then I just went menu, save. Oh, enjoy this app. No, thank you. And then that was it. And then I just went over to my virtual background and went through my little plus sign and just added it. Let me find it. Branding. There we go. And there's my big building.
So we're still seeing your...
My other screen. Hang on a second. Let me stop sharing. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, so you can see the white space over here. It's a bit tricky because of the building itself, but you can still see my weatherman. Yeah, that was really handy, Joy. I hadn't used that program before.
Okay, and the other one...
Actually, sorry, Teresa, I'll just mention, I've just done a quick Google and I was just wondering about the ideal size for images. And let me just put it into chat. They're suggesting 1920 pixels wide by 1080 high is the ideal size, and you can actually do searches in Google based on image size as well, so you can come up with images of a certain proportion. Yeah, and they're saying a maximum size of 5 megabytes as well.
Sorry, can you just run those numbers, those proportions past us
They're just
again?
in the chat window. If you click in the chat window, I've just typed them in.
Yeah, thank
and
you.
then max size 5 meg. So this is, I suppose, to do with getting the best quality. If it's too small, it'll get a bit pixely when you blow it up to full screen.
Thanks, Justin and Zoe. Okay, so what about anybody else have anything else they want to know about while you've got these experts here?
I was just wondering what was the name of that site you mentioned before with the, with the free images?
Pexels.
Pexels.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's one of them. There's a number of them, but I prefer Pexels. I've just been using it a lot lately for my content, and I like the fact that I can alter my downloads. I'm just going to make everybody giddy again and share my screen and show you what I'm talking about.
Okay, thanks.
So I go into, here it is over here. This is my Pexels site. And I just did a quick search up here. I was just looking for an empty room. And then I found one here. And down the side here, where it says my downloads, I can actually do a custom size. So I could put those sizes in that Justin has just given me, which means when I download that image, it's going to be exactly at the size I want.
Well, we're not seeing that, Zoe. We're seeing,
How come you can't see that?
we're seeing
my
CSS HTML page.
Oh, over here. Sorry. There we go. Oh, I hate all these screens. I'm used to just having 2 at home. Now I've got 3. So, sorry, I'll do that again. So here's all my images. And then I just pick one. And then down here, see my custom size? Can you see that, Mark?
Yeah, thanks. Yep, I can see. So thanks, Zoe.
Yeah. And they're all royalty free. There's heaps of them to choose from, millions and millions. And I think
lovely.
I like the quality out of all of this. It's always a really good high def quality.
Yeah, great.
I've just chucked 3 of the sites we use in the chat as well, Pexels and Pixabay and Unsplash. But there's quite a lot if you search for royalty-free images. And probably something to mention now, I know Joy mentioned earlier about using royalty-free images. If you're just doing a Zoom session, it probably doesn't really matter so much. You can use a picture, whatever the picture is in the background, but as soon as you record something and it becomes a CQ recording, then there's copyright issues about what you're using in that as a virtual background. So you need to be mindful of that as well.
Great, thanks.
Okay, so that's some good hints today. Anybody else have any questions, or who's going to go and try it out? Yeah. I was really interested in Joy's reflection on the way that, and being students, we can experience this, the way that PowerPoint creates a barrier between you and the student. But this actually takes the barrier away, and it puts that behind you, and you can have that connection. So, that's one of the very important things in creating this kind of effective online teaching environment. And it's something I think that many of us miss when we go into online rather than face-to-face, and that enables you to still create that connection. It's a completely different experience, isn't it, having Joy show us, and talk to us about something that is, there like with her as an extension of her, than something that is instead of her, which the PowerPoint is almost instead of.
I also really liked how Joy said about the issue of recording and not recording. I think that's a really powerful thing too, because I know myself personally, I work really well in small groups and Zoom sessions and things like that, but in a larger session I feel less inclined to participate fully. And so I think giving students that freedom of knowing that they can just actively participate and engage properly, I think that's a really good thing to consider as well. And as Joy said, that she can do her update afterwards and make that video for students who couldn't make it, but allows everyone the freedom of having that really engaging experience.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Justin. I think we're very, and here I am recording this, but that's because it's part of what we have to do for these. But we do tend to just record. It's almost like, oh yeah, you know, I'll just record this and people will watch it later. Well, actually, what are they watching? You know, which bit of it is it that they really need to be watching? And maybe that is, you know, that little video that even the people who participated in the session might rather just watch 10 minutes of that kind of content, because they can't engage in those conversations that you've had. They can't engage in that. You know, it's almost like, it's almost eavesdropping, isn't it? It's kind of an awkward kind of a feeling when you're watching back one of those videos with people having a discussion and asking questions. And yeah,
a lot of it's irrelevant, and I have actually tortured myself by sitting through an hour-long recorded Zoom, and honestly, there's so much wasted time, there's so much dead time in there, because you're waiting for somebody to speak and they're fuddling around trying to find their unmute button, and then they find it, and then they stumble over the first few words till they get going, you know. So there's so much dead time in those. It's way more beneficial to the, and for the people who participated, to have that 10-minute boom or a 5-minute boom at the end that you can put onto Moodle and go, boom, these were your key points, people, and if you weren't there, you're square.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you, Joy, for sharing your tips and tricks. It's I think one of the things that we've missed in the art team with the social isolation with the virus is the fact that we can't actually talk to our colleagues and bounce ideas off them and get feedback, and also we're a bit isolated here on the city campus as well, so we've got a very empty staff room. So just hearing what other teachers do and getting some knowledge around different ways of presenting work is just fantastic. And I think for us with art, you know, having that image behind us is just going to make it just so much better, like you say, than having that little tiny image up in the corner of our screens, which is what we've been relying on up until now to do any kind of slideshow or PowerPoint. But just being able to engage with the students more and having a much more visually appealing format is just great. So thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully you've created a movement, Joy, and there's no more hiding behind these 48 PowerPoint slides.
Yeah,
I know
baby.
I'll be reconsidering my my presentations from here on in.
yeah. So you see, your slide transitions do not impress me. Okay, don't bring me your slide transitions. I don't care.
I think it does take a bit of practice though. So I don't know, that might be, just as we had to do sandpit Zoom sessions, you might need to practice with the virtual background as well, because, you know, as Joy, you're very proficient with it now, but it might, like, a bit of preparation, you'd have to have it all ready to go. And you don't want it to be the first time you use it is with your class, obviously, but none of you would do that anyway.
Yeah, so the nursing team, what we did was actually, in that we had like a week run up, was we Zoomed one another and we set up quick impromptu, who's free, we're free, everybody pile in, okay, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that, swap hosts, give out co-host, and just get used to the controls yourself. So we did do that. So it was a team thing where we all jumped in and had a go. It's well worth doing, and it built your team as well. I think it's been really valuable. So in lots of ways, the COVID event has been really stressful for a lot of people, but in other ways it's brought elements of the teams together to work on this new challenge, and we've worked it together. It's been interesting.
And have you had feedback from students, Joy? That's the only other thing I would like to know.
Not formal feedback, no. Just I've had, you know, different people contact me and say they'd enjoyed that, and just the fact that they turn up for a second time, it's a win. Yeah, that's probably a good indicator. So I literally just quickly wrote down some of the key points that I can just go through before we go, that Joy went over. So your presence is most valuable.
and you need to teach students to use the speaker view and gallery view and put it on full screen so that they can see and read the text and have the whole image behind of the image behind the presenter so that they can see it. Let the students know that you can see them because they can't see themselves. So, you know, you don't want them going to the toilet or something. I don't know. But, you know, they might forget that that they're on the screen or what, because they're not looking at themselves, they're looking at that image. Keep it to the must-know concepts. Don't try and cover everything because it's not going to work. And the biggest advantage is about building relationships. But it does actually take 1 hour of prep to do 10 minutes of recording. If you were thinking about using this for a recording, as Joyce said, it took her about an hour to prep for a 10-minute recording, which might get easier or quicker as she becomes even more adept, but that's probably something to bear in mind. But you know, that's part of what we do all the time as teachers, the preparation. You know, it's the iceberg, isn't it? You only see the bit on top, the presentation, but all of the work is actually structured underneath that, and all the planning and preparation that you've done prior to that. So very good. And the closer to the green screen that you are to the background, the better. So go off and get your green plastic tablecloths. Make sure you're not wearing a green shirt or you'll disappear and you'll just be a head on the screen, literally. And be careful of stripes and spots. There's our hints to you going forward, and go ahead and practice. So thank you, Joy, and thank you to all of you. There is another session on tomorrow, which is with Justin and Zoe again. Justin's going to present this one on engaging students in Moodle. So I'm pretty sure that you'll be able to learn a bit more, including video, H5P, lots of interesting and new ways of engaging with your students that you might not have been able to use yet in Moodle. And also don't forget, we're looking for you to dob in your mate, and if you know someone who's doing something really exciting, or just even if it's just, wow, I didn't know you could do that in Zoom and that's overcome, let me know and we'll do some showcases, because I think it's really interesting to be able to learn from your peers and see how people have overcome some of the challenges, which, you know, we tend to think are unique in vet. Oh, well, how can we possibly teach our practical subjects like this? You know, it's a practical discipline. How can we do it? Well, you know, I've seen some pretty amazing ways of doing that. So hopefully I can convince those people to come and show you. And if you know someone, please let me know. Just dob them in and I'll go to them and beg them like I did to Joy. And so thanks again, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. And thank you, Joy, Justin and Zoe.
Yeah, thanks.
Guys.
That's been great. Thanks.
Thanks,
very much.
everyone.
See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.